Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Q&A video. You may notice, if you're quite observant, that it is now daytime that we're recording this one. Me and Harley, after recording yesterday, we did the monthly review, and just, the excitement of an unbeaten month got to us. We had to have a break before coming back for round two, didn't we, Harley?
We did, yeah, and those keen-eyed viewers will notice you've changed your background.
I have. I'm at university recording today, trying to find the quietest room, and I've picked the most echoey room I could find, which is great. So, how are you doing, Harley? For those who are interested in a bit about our lives, it is 11:30, and Harley admitted that he's only recently just woken up. So.
That makes me sound really bad. No, it's my day off today, so I deserve a lie-in. I've been absolutely shattered over the past week, so I will not be having that slander.
We'll let you off. It's been a couple of midweek games. Right. So it is questions day. So we're going to kick things off with one of the big topics that I think all fans are kind of thinking, talking, and worrying about. So it is from our very good friend Cleberton Felix, who hopefully will be watching this from all the way in Brazil. He asks, as the transfer window approaches, are you confident we can keep the loaned players at Walsall? I'm going to let you kick this off, Harley.
Okay, so we're talking about loan players. So that's Shade, Miller, Phillips, Menease, Rushworth, I think.
I think that's it.
That's about most of them. Yeah, I don't see why we can't keep them. I think at the moment we're in a good place where all of them are getting at least reasonable game time. I think really Shade is the only one there who isn't starting. So I think from the players' perspectives, they're getting what they want. They're getting to be able to play. And from the club's perspective, we've got good players at the moment. The only one that does concern me is Rushworth, simply just because of how exceptional he's been. And I could see his agent or his parent club, Brighton, potentially moving him up to League One or even maybe a lower championship side, potentially. Yeah. But if Carl is happy here, and we do have the ties to Jamie Fullerton, hopefully we can keep him for the season. Jamie can work a little bit of magic. But I think the rest of the players, there is no reason why they would move right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think I wrote about this earlier in the week about the loan players, and for me, Menease, however, I always pronounce his name wrong, but he's the interesting one for me, I think, out of all of them, because he's been brought into Mansfield. This is his second loan spell. They clearly don't want him, but they clearly need him. And I think he's the player for me that is the most realistic person to sign. We'll get on to Miller in a minute. But I think this January, Walsall would make a really big statement if they went and signed Menease like full time. He's clearly happy. He's playing regular football. He's struck up a partnership with Month, and for me, if that was our centre-back pairing going into next season, I'd be happy. And I think both players are working well together. It'd be good to keep that going. Rushworth, I echo what you say. I think it'd be great to see him stay because he's playing consistent and he's playing consistently well. The only thing is if Brighton are going, right, this high-end League One club or low-end Championship club have contacted us about whether he's going to be available in January. Do we recall him to send him out at a higher place? That's really beyond the club's control. There's not really a lot Fullerton can do there. Shade and Phillips, I think, are playing enough that they're not going to get a better club at the moment. So I think they'll stay. Miller, it all comes down to who Barnsley hire as manager. Because they're currently managerless at the time of recording, if they get someone in, I think there's talks that it might be Flynn from Newport County, I've seen.
Yeah.
He's going to know about Miller. I think Miller's played against Newport this season. Yeah, he did. I think he'll know all about him, and it all depends on who comes in and whether they see Miller as part of the plan or not. If they do, he might go back. If they don't, I think it's the time to try and sign him. I know he's out of contract in the summer, but personally, I'd rather see the club make an approach for him in January to get him tied down. I think I look back to what Luton did with Adebayo. They didn't have to buy him because he was up on a free, but to secure him, then yeah. So I don't see why we wouldn't why we wouldn't be able to keep, all the players. But I think there will be circumstances beyond our control with potentially Rushworth, maybe Miller, that will hamper that.
Yeah, I think Miller's an interesting one because he's had a pretty torrid time since he was at Bury, and we found something in him. And I think he'll be worried. He might be worried in himself that if he were to go back to Barnsley, he's not going to get the game time, or if they send him out on loan somewhere else or they sell him, is he going to be able to recreate this form? I mean, he's got something good going on here.
Yeah,
I think it would be in his best interest to stay with us and potentially even sign with us in January.
Yeah.
Then he knows that where he's playing good is where he is.
Yeah, and if we go into next season with like kind of the two centre backs, Miller, and that core of the midfield that we kind of touched on in our previous video, that's a good core of the squad.
Yeah,
very good core of the squad. And yeah, I mean Miller's goal scoring record's not great before coming to Walsall, but then we've been in this position a lot over the years. But who knows? And also, he's not. I know he's young, but he's not the sort of 21-year-old youngster that feels that I actually could probably jump up here. I think hopefully stability will kind of go in our favour.
Yeah.
Right, swiftly moving on. We're going to talk about potentially a bit of a negative topic that John Sadler has sent in. So why do Walsall fans always have to find a player to give stick to? Adebayo, Roberts and Osadibi spring to mind. When given time, they often turn into quality players. I mean, this is a bit of a loaded question. We haven't spoken about this between the two of us, so I'll be very keen to see what you think about this topic.
I think it's quite harsh to pick out Walsall in this because it's not a problem that is exclusive to Walsall.
Yeah.
It is just something that happens. When things are going bad, people need a scapegoat. It's just kind of what happens. And often the player who looks like they're not giving their all or isn't playing as well as we know they can, they get the most abuse. And sometimes it is quite unfair and sometimes it is a little bit deserved. But everybody does it. I mean, I challenge you to find me a club in the 92 who don't have a player like that.
Yeah.
The fans have targeted it at some point because it just kind of happens. And when those players start playing well again, it all washes away because the fans aren't angry at the player, they're angry at the results and that things aren't happening, and things can quickly change and turn.
Yeah.
As we've seen with Osadibi, he's gone from being the scapegoat and someone who fans were saying he should be sacked to he's the best player on the team. Things change.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. I think also I think this is a bigger debate about social media. I think I think personally, social media brings out this can sound really bad, but the extremist views. And what I mean by that is that if we win 3 games in a row, we're going to get promoted. If we lose 3 games in a row, we're going to get relegated. There's not the kind of the middle ground has disappeared. It's either one thing or the other. And I think that is something that, like you said, it's not just Walsall, it's every club. You see, I mean, I think for me, West Brom is a very good example. They're third still maybe in the Championship. But when they lost against Fulham, it was Ishmael needs to get sacked. And you see it so much across the board that, you know, Walsall fans looking and going, hang on, you're in the playoffs in the Championship. How can you be kind of upset with that? But I think it's that extreme views that if a player has a bad game or looks that they're maybe a little low on energy, they need to be out of the club. But you know, I mean, I think not that we're guilty of it, but when we talk, I mean, like when Miller signed, we were a bit concerned because of his track record. But I think, you know, there weren't calls of like, well, he's rubbish, he's never going to start. Like, why have we signed him? It was, I don't maybe see what the club have seen yet.
Yeah.
And I think it's that middle ground has been lost on social media because of the nature of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Social media has kind of snowballed this sort of thing, because it's always happened in every form of society. There's always been, things are good, we're all happy, things are bad, we're not happy. But social media is giving that platform for people to voice, like you say, the more extreme views. And I think that's kind of what it is. And I think it's just kind of part of the modern game now.
Yeah.
Not much you can really do about it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely I think it's its whole debate. But I think I think it's a fantastic question, and it's the sort of thing that these sorts of Q&As that we do, it's what we like talking about, these sorts of things. So thank you, John, for bringing that up. Another topic we covered in our kind of monthly roundup was about Kinsella. And David Fieldhouse has asked, do we believe that when Kins comes back in, then Earing and the team will benefit from being pushed slightly forward to play in the hole behind Miller? I don't know when Kinsella is fit, where he fits back in this squad.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it's to give Labadie a rest, or because maybe Labadie's suspended or injured. I personally see that as the only way he comes back in, because I think we've all seen the benefit from having Earing and Labadie paired together. And, you know, Earing and Kinsella may pair together as well, but I don't see who you drop for Kinsella at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the things coming into the season was that there was a lot of assumptions that Labadie, from the way he spoke and the way kind of Newport fans said, he was going to be that number 8, he was going to be a bit of a box-to-box player. Yeah. But I think Taylor's found that really his true best position these days is being that anchor, and that was Kinsella's job. So when we were playing with the two of them, it was a double pivot of 2 anchors, which didn't work. And we can't go back to that because it doesn't work. And I think Earing's dropping into the 8, which was kind of designed for Labadie, it's actually worked. So I don't know, like you say, where Kinsella really fits in. I think it's going to be competition between him and Labadie for that anchor role alongside Earing, because I wouldn't want to push Earing on any further, because you've got Holden coming back eventually and you've got Osadibi playing well. I don't think Earing needs to go into the cam role.
No, I agree. I think Earing, yes, in the National League he was a 10, but I think he's spoken about how he's happy to play wherever. I think he's probably playing more than he thought he would, given the opportunities with a couple of injuries and suspension. But he's fully deserving of his starting place. And I think even when we're playing teams at the top, I don't see Labadie Kinsella paired together as anything that really should happen, because I think it takes away that bit of a push forward. But I do see when we, coming into the winter, if games get called off, we're going to have fixture congestion when we've got it coming up with midweek matches. It's kind of been fairly rare, but I think running towards the end of the year, the whole squad's going to be needed. So there's going to be times where Labadie needs a rest. I mean, he is 30.
Yeah.
And you don't want his performance dropping because he's had to play Saturday, Tuesday. So, yeah, I think Kinsella will get his chance, but at the moment, I think when he comes back, he will be on the bench. I don't see him breaking into the squad. I mean, obviously, I think he'll come on as a sub in games, a fresh pair of legs, and with the energy he brings. But it's a nice problem to have for a change.
It is. The only other thing I want to say on that is Labadie's the club captain.
Yeah.
And he has shown a real desire to lead. And a lot of people have praised him on his kind of leadership skills and his desire to win. And I don't know if you can drop the club captain that easily. I mean, you obviously can, but do you want to? Because he does bring that kind of sense of leadership and he brings the squad together around him.
Yeah. And I think, I think he's spot on with that. Right, what else have we got to talk about? So Ross Allen has asked, who do you think is the best summer signing this season? That is a tough question, because I think there's a few candidates, but I'm gonna press you for. I want you to name your two and see where we match up on this.
So I think I'm going to go with. I was just thinking about that as you were saying it, and one might be slightly more left field than the other, but my first one would be George Miller.
Yeah.
Because although he's on loan, he's been brilliant, and I think that we all criticised at the time, like we've mentioned before, that we didn't see what the club saw in him, and it's paid off big time. My other one is going to be Jack Earing, because we've got him on a permanent deal. He's our player. He's still very young at 22. He's got a lot of room to grow with us. And he could, if he chooses to stay long term, he can move with us up the leagues and he'll be a fantastic player.
Yeah, I was going to go with Miller, so I won't go with Miller. But when he said Earing, it completely makes sense as well. I'm surprised you didn't say Ward, because you're such a fan. For me, I'm going to go with. I mean, there's a lot, and I think honourable mentions have to go to Month. I think he's been quite good at defensively, and Kiernan. I think Kiernan's had a very good. He looks, for me, a better signing than what I thought he would turn out to be. But I'm going to go with Menaïs in defence. I think Taylor and Month were kind of doing this with their form, but Menaïs has come in and been quite stable, and I do think that he's looked potentially our best defender. So I'm going to go with him, and and I think I'm going to have to go with I'd have to go with Miller, but apart from that, Rushworth, because when we weren't playing well, especially defensively, he kept us in matches. He kept the scoreline low, and at times has made a couple of big saves to make sure that we do get points. So I think I'm going to go for on the defensive side, because that's just what I think.
Yeah, there's a lot to choose from, though, isn't there? Yeah, there's a lot of great business been done. Yeah,
and I think we're sat here discussing that rather than trying to pluck at straws, going, oh, well, they had a good game and they had a good game. So I'm then going to, where are we? Right, Lee Reynolds has asked, is it a good sign that we're winning in different ways? Sutton was a gritty performance. That game last season would have lost. I mean, it's one of football's biggest cliches, but you've got to pick up points when you're not playing well, and Sutton was exactly that. So I think the fact that we're finding ways to pick up points. I'm not going to say wins, because I think points in general, there's been draws as well, in different ways, and when we've been playing well or not so well. That's a really good sign.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that was something that under Darryl Clark, we only ever seemed to have a plan A.
Yeah,
And I think that really damaged the team because if it didn't go to plan, which often it didn't, the players didn't really know what they were doing. They didn't really know how to get back into this game. It very rarely happened. And particularly under Dutton, it didn't happen. I think Taylor has found a way, slowly but surely, to kind of drill into these players that there are, like Leah's asked, there are different ways to win football games. Sometimes, if you have the opportunity, you can dominate the opposition, put three in, see the game out. But if things are just not going well for you, if you're away from home, if they're controlling the midfield, if you can just get that one goal and see out that win, that's fine. And I think that the players
yeah,
have the resilience and the intelligence now to start putting that into practice, and we are seeing it.
yeah. I think you're totally right about that. The plan B, but I think it's also approaching games in a different mentality. I look at the kind of the Orient to Oldham difference. I mean, Orient creatively didn't really create a lot, but we didn't commit loads forward. We're physical and strong, and that worked to our favour because it just stopped quite a strong attack getting goals. But then Oldham, it was right. We need to have a bit more flair to our play here. We need to kind of get our passing moves going. We need to. It was two contrasting styles, and both were good performances. And I think Taylor analyses the other team better than Clark does. I always felt with Clark that he changed for the sake of changing, and that it was, well, I'm not going to tell you the lineup because I'm Darryl Clark. Whereas Taylor might not change personnel, but changes style because the formation's staying the same, but it's just an approach and a mentality to games.
Yeah, and I think that's a really big thing to point out from you is that Taylor has shown his ability to analyze a game. And I think we saw that from very early on when he signed, when he was talking about games, how analytical he is in his interviews. You can see he's got a really good football brain. Like he's really smart. And I think he has been drilling that into the players that this game we're going to do this, that game we're going to do something else. And we've become very unpredictable.
Yeah, I think I think you kind of know what you're going to get from Walsall, but it also stays fresh. It's not the same week in, week out. It's the same players maybe, but they are adapting. Right, the last question of the video is purely for you, Harley, and you know exactly what's coming up. We've had from David Fieldhouse and from James Francis questions about why do we look leggy and maybe potentially a little bit unfit towards the end in matches. And I'm just going to pass that over to you.
Right. Well, I'll just have to go and get my binder on fitness and conditioning out. Anyway, it's getting better. It's still an issue. I think that it's hard to know what's going on, but I think it could be down to player mentality in as much as anything, because I think Oldham really showed that we got hit a few times when we conceded, and Oldham took the ascendancy, and we fought to get it back. And I think Taylor has really been drilling into players to fight to get the game back when we start to lose the ascendancy. So I think when we're tired, we just need to find that second wind. So I'm hoping that if we can keep improving on our fitness, game by game, we're going to have a busy fixture list, but that means that the match fitness is going to be extremely high for the winter period. So hopefully we can be as fit as possible and we won't run into those issues towards the last kind of 15, 20 minutes of the game, and we can start being a little bit smarter with our play. If the issue persists and it's just that he's just assembled a squad of players whose stamina just isn't quite as high overall as maybe some of the other teams,
Yeah.
then we can start playing smarter. And I think that's kind of what we did at Oldham. We played smarter. We started to use the fact that we were tired and play more intelligent football, a little bit more intricate passing, a bit less running, a bit more kind of getting the ball into the box. I think that's kind of what we need to do now.
I think one of the other things for me is that we've got attacking outlets to bring off the bench. So when the likes of, I mean, I can't remember which game it was, but we brought on Shade and Kiernan, and you're like, those are great two players to bring on. It gives the defence, if they're getting a bit tired, a fresh outlet. And I think for me, that's one of the biggest shifts that having Kinsella back will. If we need like last 10 minutes, 15, a bit of real like energy, you could swap him for Earring, and you've suddenly got two midfielders that are just going to put a tackle in. But I think having that attacking outlet that means that the defence can effectively clear a ball and it's not going to come straight back is key.
Yeah.
So I think the bit of squad depth that's been added there has kind of changed that. It's now just about making sure that stays, that maintains, because it's paying dividends, as is seen in a month where we haven't lost, and only really, I think, conceded one late goal, which in 6-7 matches is not a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think there has been a lot of work done to kind of shore up the defence. I think that Taylor has realised that White and Ward are quite attacking fullbacks, and he's starting to keep them more compact. He lets them kind of surge forward and do their thing. But when we're on the defence is a lot tighter, and it's stopping them getting balls into the box. They're forcing the opposition into crossing. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. We have conceded quite a few from crosses, but I see where he's going, where he's saying there's a lower percentage scoring chance from a cross than there is from working the ball into the 6-yard box. Yeah. And I think that's what he's trying to do. And I think that's something that's really helped with us, is to kind of, the players now know where they need to go. So in the last 10, 15 minutes, we're a lot more compact. So we don't need to do as much chasing. And I think that's just kind of saving Stamina a little bit.
I'm just looking back through, and I actually was surprised by this. If you look, so obviously Barrow, 96th minute conceded. But if you look then at other games, Oldham scored in the 85th minute. Against Exeter, we equalised in the 70th minute. Against Salford, we scored in the 95th minute. We're actually starting to score later on in games. Yeah. And, I think 70 minutes is not really the latter stages, but we have been saying that it's been 15, 20 minutes to go. We're looking leggy. That's sort of 3, maybe 4 goals. So Exeter, Salford, Oldham, and then potentially you could class Shades was 66th minute. It's midway through the second half. The team are starting to pick up those goals in the kind of, I say the later periods, but in the last half an hour of a match, which we weren't doing kind of before the start of October. So I think you're right. We're getting there. The team are understanding their limitations, and it's understanding your weaknesses as well as your strengths. Let's hope it carries on.
Fingers crossed.
Everyone, thank you for your questions. Thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. And thank you again, Harley, for coming on.
Of course, thank you everyone for watching. Have a good day and take care, guys. Make sure you do like and subscribe, because it really helps Roberto out.
It does.